Morgan Branch. I got my children in the car. You better back the f
You
up.
better back.
Shut my door up.
Don't tell me what
Shut my door.
do. I run this
Bitch, you better get out my...
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. I want to apologize to you. I have a little bit of a laryngitis problem today. And as an initial housekeeping matter, I'm sure you can probably tell that I'm in a different place recording. And that's because I'm in the process of transitioning into a new office space and I'm making some changes along the way. So things are going to be a little bit transitional and different for the next month or so. And I apologize for that in advance. That said, today's video comes as an update to one of my most popular videos on the channel about the tiny tyrant Kentucky State Trooper Kristen Mitchell. You may not have seen it or you may not remember, but back in May I broke the case of the tiny tyrant Kentucky Trooper Kristen Mitchell and the outrageous conduct of her and her two Kentucky State Police colleagues during a traffic stop of a motorist named Morgan Branch. Morgan had posted the interaction on her Facebook channel for all to see, and I decided to publish it. Josh Abrams reached out to me from the Accountability for All channel. He also wanted to cover it, and he covered it as well, and I think a couple other places have covered it, but a multitude of people on TikTok have covered it, and literally at this point millions of people have seen this interaction with Morgan Branch and the Kentucky State Police. And that has, as you would expect, amounted to considerable pressure, and as a result, something has happened. Now, in case you don't remember or you never saw the footage, here's the original video.
Morgan Branch. I got my children in the car. You better back the f
You
up.
better back.
Shut my door up.
Don't tell me what
Shut my door.
do. I run this
Bitch, you better get out my f***ing face. My children are in the car.
Get out of the car.
I can't. This is a standard with no e-brake.
Well,
I ain't doing anything wrong. What the f
Get
is
out of
this?
the car.
You will not take my phone. This is a normal traffic violation, and you are in denial of rights under the color of law.
Put your finger in my
I am
face.
buckled. I am no threat to you. You will back the f up. Get your
will.
superintendent
You'll
now.
tell me what to do.
This is denial of
That ain't
rights
how
under
it
the
works.
color of law. My vehicle will drive off.
You're going to get out
Put
of
the
the car.
emergency brake on.
Ma'am, you will be. Get
Ma'am,
your lieutenant right
emergency
now.
brake on.
The emergency brake don't
Stop
work. I
screaming.
said that 5 times.
Look at me.
Get your lieutenant now.
We don't have a
tell us what
lieutenant
we're
out.
supposed to do.
My kids are in this car. There's no e-brake on it.
Quit acting like an idiot with them.
I'm not, and I am recording this entire interaction.
We are too.
I went and got my children f***ing McDonald's.
Okay.
Okay.
Why are you screaming at us?
She's screaming at me. She came up nasty as hell.
Okay. I said, did you not see the lights? Is what I
And
said.
I pulled
And I
into
have a body
here.
camera. You went
Good
in
for
here
you.
pretty recklessly with children in the car. You went
I am
in
not
pretty
reckless as
recklessly.
hell. No,
It was pretty
ma'am.
recklessly.
No,
Yes,
ma'am.
it
And
was.
this is
Yes,
a normal
ma'am, it
traffic
was.
stop. You are a snotty girl.
Are you,
This is a normal traffic
You have
stop.
a driver's license?
You are all.
Fucking do.
Yes.
Are you out of Ohio?
Yes.
Have you
Yes.
provided your driver's license?
I provided my
Did you
social.
write her?
Absolutely. I have
Somebody-
registration. This
okay.
is a normal traffic stop, and you are in violation, denial of rights under the color of law, in which I will prosecute in your agency.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
see you
ma'am,
in
I
court.
will. Don't think my family ain't lawyers.
Stop cussing, please.
No, ma'am. No,
I'm
sir.
not a man.
I am not. You all are out of control. Absolutely out of control. This is a normal traffic stop. Please get my stuff. Write me my ticket for my false
Will you
insurance.
shut up? Tell me what to quit doing, all right? Because I'm getting pissed off. You don't want me to get pissed
My
off, all right? So
children
I
are-
need your
my
name, and I need
children
your
are
date of
fine.
birth, and I need it right now.
Morgan Branch, 11/9/1999.
What's your
Please
middle
shut my
initial?
door. Paige. Shut my door.
Have
You
you
have
been
woken
drinking
up
or
my
smoking or
children.
anything like that
No.
What's your date of birth again, ma'am?
11/9/1999. She said, can I give it, I need your license. I went to reach in to grab my registration, my license right here. What are you reaching for? Shit, girl, you told me my license.
Fuck yeah. I was right here for the whole thing.
I was not reaching fast. She asked for my license, so I went right here in my glove box and got my license and registration. Well, my license ain't on me, but.
Yeah, we don't want to scream. We don't want to cause
kids to grow up and
cause
be
a
scared of
scene.
police.
Oh, they're gonna be. I don't want my
because
children
you're
to
making
trust.
them.
No,
Yeah.
You'll teach them to be a sovereign citizen because you know the color of law.
absolutely.
Like you do.
Absolutely.
And you don't know jack shit about nothing.
I know plenty.
You wouldn't know shit from Shinola.
I know a bunch.
I have made it a habit of checking in on Morgan's Facebook page to look for some sort of an update because she promised basically to follow through on this. And this is the first video that I posted that had nearly 100,000 views, and I knew my audience would be interested in an update. Well, life got in the way and somehow I missed this at the end of June. But she did in fact post a screenshot from an article indicating that something had happened to these troopers. Apparently this story has been covered by multiple media outlets, but the screenshot that she specifically posted was from the Courier-Journal, which is apparently a Louisville-based paper. The screenshot was from an article about the incident, and the paper reported the following. 3 Kentucky State troopers have been placed on modified duty and are under an internal investigation after a video widely circulated on social media showed an explosive confrontation between the troopers and an Ohio woman in a May traffic stop in Lawrence County. The video, posted May 20th, shows an interaction between Morgan Branch, who had been traveling in Kentucky with her young children, and Trooper Kristen Mitchell, who pulled Branch over May 1st for expired registration plates along with other charges, according to records obtained by the Courier-Journal. When the interaction begins, Branch asks Mitchell to step away from her vehicle out of concern for her children in the car. And the article goes on, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. You can follow up and read it for yourself. But you may have the question, what does it actually mean to be on modified duty? Well, it really depends on how the department categorizes it. A lot of times that can be administrative leave, which is where, you might be if you had an officer involved shooting or something, and that's where they say you have to stay home between, say, 8 and 4 or something, normal business hours. And they usually pay the salary of the person while they're on investigation pending the outcome. But that is typically referred to as administrative leave. Modified duty is something you would typically find if a person has like an injury or a surgery where maybe the person can't be on regular law enforcement duty or answer calls, so they put them in, say, the records division or property and evidence, or maybe in dispatch or communications until their injury's over. Or in this case, they may be on that sort of modified duty pending the outcome of the investigation. In most of those cases, especially where it's disciplinary in nature, the officer has to turn in their badge and gun during these periods, and they're stripped of law enforcement authority pending the outcome of the investigation. So it remains to be seen whether these folks will actually lose their job over this incident, but if I had to guess, I would say that it's pretty unlikely. I'm actually a little bit surprised that all 3 of them were placed on modified duty, especially considering the fact that Louisville was the center of the controversy surrounding Scotty Scheffler, and a lot of the command staff are in that area or close to that area, and it was a perfect excuse to have absolutely nobody hear about this story. But I've seen numerous Facebook posts and comments, and people were just unrelenting in their comments about firing Kristen Mitchell over this situation. So I guess they had no real choice but to address it. Now, if I had to guess, I'd say if any of them are going to get fired, it will be Mitchell. The other 2 will probably get counseling or maybe a short suspension, but that all really depends on whether they did things that were captured on their own body camera that we haven't seen as part of our footage. If, as an example, it turns out that they didn't actually have a reason to stop her in the first place and it's recorded on body cam, they might have bigger problems than we know of. Now, I am in the process of requesting the body cam footage from the cameras that night so I can see everything that happened, but I haven't formalized the request yet, and I'll keep you guys posted on the final outcome. In closing, I've had several people comment on the original video in defense of Trooper Mitchell. These are people that I assume are from her community, who watched her grow up, who knows what type of person she is. I know she was an athlete. She played soccer for the University of Pikeville in that area. And there are a lot of people that probably care about her, that are proud of her in her community, but not one single person was able to offer a defense, not of Kristen Mitchell, the person that you grew up with, but of Kristen Mitchell, the person wearing the Kentucky State Police uniform. Every single comment that was purported to be in defense of Trooper Mitchell was actually a comment that impugned the character of the person who was in the car and talked about how Miss Branch got charged criminally for burglary and some other stuff within days of this happening. Look, I don't care. And you shouldn't care either. What she did a week after this happened should have absolutely no bearing on the way that she was treated during this traffic stop. In fact, what she does anytime in her life, other than being an active threat to someone in the community or these police officers, should have had any bearing whatsoever on the way she was treated by law enforcement officers on a traffic stop. George Floyd was a criminal and a drug addict who was actively high and attempting to pass a counterfeit bill to a store vendor at the time of the incident that led to his death. He still did not deserve to die in the street that day for his crimes. We are all entitled to due process under the law, and that due process does not mean that the law enforcement officer gets to decide whether or not we're a good enough person to deserve saving or proper treatment or anything like that. The duties owed to a citizen by a law enforcement officer do not change based on on the person with whom they are presently dealing, or their past, or what they're going to do in a week. And many of these law enforcement officers seem completely oblivious to this fact. There is like a social class system where they feel like they are the arbiters of who's good and who's bad. And while there are lots of problems with that mentality, one of the main problems is that whoever's in power is the person who gets to decide, and whoever's in power today won't always be in power. So if the standard is set that the powerful decide who's good and worth saving and who's bad and not worth saving, well, it won't be long before me and you will be on the wrong end of that equation. And that's why constitutional protections exist equally for everyone, regardless of their status. And anyone who doesn't stand for that principle has no business having the authority to use the weight of the government to inflict their value system on other people. Now, in addition to the other people who commented in defense of Trooper Mitchell, I actually had her big brother comment on the video, and I really felt bad for him. What started out as a heated exchange dissipated pretty quickly, and I found him to be very reasonable and conscientious. He was hurting for his sister and his family, and again, while our exchange started out heated, it ultimately ended up in about as good a place as you could expect it to end. He still wanted to defend his sister, but he was very reasonable, and he understood what the issue was. He was obviously upset that his sister was the most talked about person in Eastern Kentucky for all the wrong reasons. He didn't feel like what was portrayed on the video was consistent with the character that he knew his sister to have. And I know from some of the things that he said that the situation was being addressed by the Kentucky State Police, because he basically alluded to the idea that his sister's career was ruined, if not over. I just didn't know to what extent it was being addressed until I saw Morgan's update and followed up on the news story. I reminded him in the comments of what I genuinely believe, and that is that his sister was the person in charge of her conduct that night, and it was incumbent upon her to consider how those actions would affect her and her department and her family externally, and that it isn't fair to be mad at other people for publicizing something that actually happened simply because of the way that it impacts you or your family. Just like I tell my children, who are now adults, if someone says something about you and it's true and you don't like the truth, then it's your responsibility to change, not get mad at the person who told it to you. The truth is the truth is the truth. It can't be changed based on somebody's feelings. So if you don't like it and you're in a position to change it, it's your responsibility to change so it doesn't impact you the same way, because that thing won't be true about you anymore. But I also have to acknowledge that it does suck when your family's injured and you can't do anything about it. And regardless of what they do, they're your family and you love them and you tend to defend them unconditionally. And one of the things that sucks about covering these stories is that you sometimes forget that real people who had no input as to what was going to happen are genuinely affected by these cases, and they are collateral damage in these cases. So I'd like to say to her brother, I'm genuinely sorry that your family has had a hard time dealing with the backlash, and I hope that everybody gets to recover and move forward. However, I remain convinced that while this trooper may be a decent person, and what happened that night is not a reflection of who she is as a person, she does not have the temperament to be a law enforcement officer, where what America demands as a society out of the men and women who are charged with the duty of wearing the uniform is at an all-time high. And we cannot accept somebody who loses it that easily, who decides that a person is not worth treating correctly simply because of who they are or what they may have done in their past. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. I just thought you'd be interested in the update. If you haven't seen my original video where I go through the legal analysis on the actual traffic charges, I'll link it in the description and put it on the screen at the end so you can go back and check it out. It was a lot of fun last night as I watched the ticker on the YouTube app register a 10,000th subscriber to my channel, and I can't thank you guys enough for the love and support. So with that said, I'm looking forward to having you guys along for the ride moving forward. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Let me know what you think of the update. Please check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.